Hello, and welcome to a Pokemon XD Gala Darkness video, where today I will be tackling the entire game with the Corphish line, as suggested by Clash of Clans. Here you go. In terms of how I feel about this run, before I get into it, I think this is going to go fairly well. Water types are usually pretty good, and the dark typing will actually be kind of helpful for a lot of fights in this game. So let's just go ahead and get right into it. For base stats, Corphish has 43 HP, 80 attack, 65 defense, 50 special attack, 35 special defense, and 35 speed, and it gets access to a wide variety of move types, like water, dark, normal, ice, and even some other types like fighting, rock, and flying, which may or may not come in handy. Now, what you might have noticed already is that I've actually put down the Pokemon's type there. That's something new. I don't know why I wasn't doing it before, but yeah, here it is now. And also, if you notice the question mark by Crunch, it never actually learned Crunch through level up. So I don't know why it's listed on Bulbapedia as learning Crunch. Anyway, our Corphish has a Jolly nature, which raises its speed and lowers its special attack, which isn't very good for its two stab types later on, but it will mean that it will actually be able to outrun some stuff later on, because it does only have 35 base speed. So maybe it's good. And for its ability, it gets Shell Armor, or it gets Hyper Cutter. Now, I flipped a coin, and it just happened to land on Tails, which was Shell Armor, which blocks all critical hits. So that'll probably be useful for consistency. And off of Bulbapedia, these are the 3 moves that it gets at level 10. So with that, let's just go ahead and get right into the run. Now, our first big obstacle of this run is actually Egan, the Pikachu trainer, and that's because this Pikachu, while kinda low level, has Thunderbolt, which is going to be doing a ton of damage, as you can see there, and had I been a level lower, it actually would have taken me down in a single hit. So I'm not going to win this run. I just have to get lucky and hope it attacks Teddiursa, which it doesn't next attempt, which I didn't really think was all that important to show. Anyway, welcome to the rambling section of this video. I'd like to just say once again, this was a commented idea for a video, and I thank you very much for putting that down. Keep them coming. Not sure if I'm going to do the Wurmple, Weedle, and Caterpie video anytime soon, because I don't really have the time at the moment. But if you have any other suggestions, put them down below, and I'll try to get them as they come along. Anyway, if you are enjoying this video, maybe like, subscribe, and I don't know. Anyway, as you can see here, Corphish actually doesn't do well for any of these fights, and you actually need to be able to take down one of them in order to enter the building. So I have to train, which is kind of funny because it should actually match up well into some of these Pokemon. But luckily Corphish is one of the Pokemon that gets access to Bubble Beam pretty early, and Bubble Beam is the strongest water-type move with 100% accuracy in this game. And that's because Surf doesn't exist. And while Corphish does get another move, which is stronger, it's only got 85% accuracy. And it also gets access to Hydro Pump, which is also very inaccurate. Anyway, Corphish is also special in that it gets Protect through level up, which I am going to teach immediately. And then here, I'm going to catch the Carvana to get the Black Glasses to raise my Dark-type damage. But as I said before, it didn't actually learn Crunch, so I don't know what that's about. Anyway, we move on to the first boss of the game, Lavrina. She leads with a Love Disc and a Beautifly, and honestly, the Love Disc can't really do that much damage to me, as you can see there, but the Beautifly can. So I decide to attack the Beautifly first, because it has Absorb, yeah. So it's going to be healing a little bit every time. So I decide to try to take it down as quick as possible. And another Bubble Beam should do that. And then she brings out her next Pokemon, which is usually her scariest. And that's because Roselia has Leech Seed. So I decide to use Protect here to see what it's going to do. And it actually uses Mega Drain, which I guess does make sense because it would be doing the most amount of damage to me. So I go for Vice Grip, and it's doing quite a lot of damage, actually. but not enough to take it down in a single hit, and that Mega Drain is doing a ton of damage. So I go for another one, and I should be able to take down the Roselia, but there's no way I'm going to take another Water Gun from the Love Disc. So unfortunately, I will lose this one. However, I will say, we are level 29 right now, and Corphish evolves into Crawdaunt at level 30. So I decided to just level up a level and try this again. And as you can see here, Corphish is evolving. Goodbye, little dude. Now you're big, strong dude with a star on your head. I don't know, not much to say. Anyway, with that, we get a new type, as well as upgraded stats. 63 HP, 120 attack, 85 defense, 90 special attack, 55 special defense, and 55 speed. And it's now Dark type, meaning that we are going to be completely immune to Psychic type moves, which will come in handy quite a lot. So, let's go ahead and move right into the next attempt. Now my Bubble Beams are actually doing a lot more damage, actually being able to one-shot the Beautifly now. Out comes the Roselia once again. And with the power increase, I should be able to just take it down in a single hit, which I do. And out comes her Delcatty once again. Now this thing can be threatening depending on how weak your Pokemon is, but I think Crawdaunt with its really strong base defense should be able to tank a Shadow Rush with ease. Oh, it actually uses Shadow Wave. Okay, well I guess that makes sense. I do have a much lower special defense, but it's not enough to take me down, and I take it down instead. And now it's just me against the Love Disc, which should go down in a single Vice Grip. Oh, never mind. Love Disc is surprisingly tanky. Okay, well, one more should seal the deal. And Love Disc goes down, and I beat Lovrina on the second attempt. So, not too bad. Anyway, of course you can't have a Pokemon XD video without the obligatory Mirror Bee. He's busting it down right now, getting groovy with it. And of course I go to the Realgam Tower to go pick up my two favorite TMs, Hidden Power and Protect. Now the reason I buy Protect here is because if I need to swap out Protect for a different move, I can always reteach it again. And I teach Hidden Power right away, which just happens to be Hidden Power Electric, which will be kind of nice because I'm able to hit the water types that I can't really hit all that well. And here is the move I was referring to with 85% accuracy, and is a stronger water type move. And although I would love to teach it, it really doesn't help Corphish all that much, so I decided not to, just because I don't want to be missing all the time. However, what I will teach him is Ice Beam, which is super valuable, and I decide to teach it over Protect, because I can always just teach Protect again. Anyway, on to the second big boss fight of the game. Against Snaddle, he leads with a Lantern and a Quagsire. And I have actually sped up the recording just a little bit, because I'm at 3/4 of my health, so there's no way I'm winning this, but this is just a good way of seeing where I'm at. And my Vice Grips aren't doing enough damage to even take down the Lantern in a single hit. And the Quagsire's Rock Tombs, while not doing that much damage, are lowering my speed every time, making it possible for the Lunatone to do that and nearly take me down. And out comes Castform, and a Rock Tomb finishes me off. So I decide to go pick up the move Body Slam, which is just going to be a better Vice Grip. So I teach that right away. And I go back to the battle. Now you can actually see I sped up the video even more, and that's because this fight actually is a little bit longer. But as you can see, Body Slam still isn't enough to take out the Lantern. I think just a couple levels will do it though, so I'll probably try it again after getting a couple levels. I decided to go for Body Slam to see how much it does to Quagsire, and it's not even a one-shot on it. And the Shadow Sky comes out, and I use Bubble Beam to try to take down the Lunatone once again. And now I move back onto the Castform. Another Rock Tomb takes me down pretty low, but unfortunately It's too low, and I'm not faster than the cast form, so I should go down in a single hit. Okay, well, after that, I decided to do some leveling. And here's an interesting move. I have Swords Dance as an option. I would teach it, but the problem is that the only move that I have at the moment that actually would make use of that is Body Slam. So I decide to not learn it for now, and just take my few levels that I've gotten and go back into the fight where I can now one-shot the Lantern. Out comes Lunatone once again, and if the Quagsire misses, I should be able to outspeed the Lunatone, but unfortunately it doesn't. I go for Bubble Beam into the Lunatone once again, and I'm actually faster now, which is quite a big deal, because that means I might actually be able to outrun the cast form as well. I go for Body Slam into it, and unfortunately after 2 Rock Tombs I'm not. Body Slam will take it down in a single hit though. And then out comes his last Pokemon, which is a Metang. Now this thing is a bit threatening because I'm pretty sure it has Thunder Punch. So if it hits me, it's going to be doing quite a bit of damage. So I go for Bubble Beam, and yeah, it's faster than me, as long as I don't get paralyzed. Okay, I don't. Bubble Beam isn't quite a one-shot. Okay, well that's a little scary, because if it... Never mind, it can't get a crit, because my ability doesn't allow crits. Okay, never mind, I'm not actually in danger at all, other than paralysis. Okay, now it's just me and the Quagsire left, and the Quagsire can't do enough damage to take me down, so I go for Body Slam. And it's actually run out of Rock Tombs, so it's just going to start using Slam. Body Slam is not quite enough still, but after one more, I should be able to take it down. And a surprisingly close battle at that. So I beat Snaddle 3rd try. So I move right along into this fight, where I meet the first of 2 Crawdaunts on the main adventure. Sorry, friend. I have to defeat you. Anyway, at the bottom of the staircase, I decide to teach Protect once again, and that's so I can avoid Gonzap's first move, which is a combo of Fake Out from the Nuzleaf and Spark from the Electrode, which Spark would do a ton of damage to me. So I just avoid it all. Now from here on out, the Nuzleaf will just be spamming Hyper Beam. So it's not really too big a threat as long as I can take Hyper Beams fairly well, which I should be able to with my high defense. Yep. And I take down the Electrode as quick as possible. Next I take down the Vileplume because it can also do a ton of damage to me. And then out comes Whiscash, which is half ground type, so I will be able to do decent damage to it, even with my water and ice type moves. But I decide to use Body Slam onto it anyway because my attack is higher, and it's not quite a one-shot. Okay, well, as long as it doesn't hit me with anything. It has Spark? Oh, hey, I didn't know it had Spark. Okay, well that's good to know. I'll put that in my list of things to look out for. Anyway, out comes Skarmory, his last Pokemon. And I decide to use Protect here because they're both going to Hyper Beam this turn. And I can just get a bit of health back before they do that. And I go for Ice Beam into the Skarmory to take it down in a single hit, which it does. Nuzleaf uses his last Hyper Beam, doing very little. And surprisingly, despite starting this battle at about half health, I'm actually able to defeat it first try. So, and not too shabby. Anyway, moving right along into the next battle, we are now against Gorgon, who basically just lives on Earthquake. Now, I will say this is the second attempt, because the first attempt I lost like right at the end. And the strategy between them didn't really change, I just kind of got luckier, because the Slow King used Water Pulse last time and just confused me, and I hit myself till I had died, basically. So, anyway, this attempt, I don't get that unlucky, and I decide to take down the Slow King now. Unfortunately, it's not a one-shot, so it will be able to attack Unless it gets paralyzed? It doesn't get paralyzed. Okay, well, Earthquake isn't really doing that much damage to me. So I'm able to take it down this turn. Unless I decide to attack the Ursaring, which also isn't a one-shot, and yeah, has Brick Break doing super effective damage to me. That's part of the reason I lost last time as well. Okay, well anyway, now I'm kind of stuck in a difficult situation because I don't know who I want to take down. The Ursaring is definitely a threat directly, but the Slowking's chance of confusing me again is something to keep in mind. However, it is also paralyzed, so it's definitely not as strong. Anyway, out comes Primeape, who is his first Shadow Pokemon. And surprisingly, it actually has Shadow Storm, which is going to be a special move, so it will actually be doing quite a bit of damage to me. Luckily, I am able to one-shot it. And then out comes Hypno, which also has Shadow Storm. So, but Hypno is actually a decent special attacker, so it's actually going to be doing good damage to me. I'm not able to take it down in a single hit. Shadow Storm comes out and does... okay, well less than I thought it would, honestly. I'm able to take it down in another turn. And then it's just Slowking left. No confusion. No confusion. And I take it down. And that's Gorgon on the second attempt. Not too bad. Anyway, with that completed, we can now go on to Citydark Isle, the last area of the game, and quite possibly the hardest. But it's also where we meet our second best friend, which is this guy defending the dock. He's got the second Crawdaunt in the game. Hello, friend. Yeah. Lobster battle. Is it a lobster or a crab? Why is it in the bug category? Anyway, we move on to Laverina, the first boss of this area. And her whole gimmick is attract. If you are the opposite gender of one of her Pokemon, you want to take it down. Because all of her Pokemon have attract other than her Shadow Pokemon. And it's not worth risking it. So I decide to take down the Gardevoir right off the bat. Ice Beam will take down the Roselia, which can also attract me, or Leech Seed me, or Mega Drain me, whatever it feels. Out comes her first Shadow Pokemon, which is Farfetch'd. This thing has a move that can confuse me, and because of my high attack, that is actually quite a threat, so I take it down immediately. And then out comes her second Pokemon, which is a Shadow Altaria, which is just going to use Shadow Rush. So it's not really too big a threat, and I should be able to take it down in a single hit. So I decide to take down the Gorbis now. And surprisingly, it doesn't go down in a single hit. And the Altaria has Shadow Rave. Huh. I don't remember if I've ever seen it use that. You know, that's always the funny thing about these challenges is it doesn't matter how many Pokemon you go through, sometimes the Pokemon that you fight against just tweak their moves a little bit to things you haven't seen before. Because I don't remember ever seeing it use Shadow Rave. Anyway, I beat Laverina first attempt. Not too bad. And at the top of the mountain, I run into our next fight, which is Snaddle. Now, I will say Snaddle... Oh. Hey, I'm at half health. Oh, I forgot to heal for this fight. Okay, well, I'll just use this as a testing ground. Anyway, Body Slam isn't enough to take down the Quagsire, and Bubble Beam isn't enough to take down the Metang. Probably a couple levels and I'll be able to do it. The Thunder Punches definitely aren't helping, and the Paralysis isn't much better. What I was getting at is... Snaddle's very much the gatekeeper of the endgame, because if you can't beat him, you have to climb the entire mountain without a shortcut, and that takes about like 4 minutes to do every single time, because you start all the way back at the Pokélab, and you have to take the Robo-Kyogre all the way back, and then climb up the entire mountain every single time you lose to him. And he actually took quite a few attempts. So it definitely took Crawdaunt's time and just just made the gap quite large. So anyway, after a few rare candies and a little bit of training, we are now at attempt number 7. I decided to just skip all the other ones because honestly, it's just a lot of failure. I get very close to the end, get outsped, and lose. So anyway, just skip all the fluff. Let's just go on to the battle that I actually win. And you can see now I'm actually able to take down the Quagsire in a single hit. I go for Bubble Beam, which still isn't enough to take down Scizor in a single hit, and its Silver Winds are still doing quite a bit of damage. And Matang's Thunder Punches definitely sting a bit, but I got rid of the Quagsire because the speed difference is actually a huge deal in this battle. So I go for Bubble Beam, take down the Scizor. A critical hit that I would have liked prior, but, you know, he's doing his best. Unfortunately, with the strategy I have here, I actually have to pray that Thunder Punch just doesn't paralyze me, which is a bit unfortunate. I have to take down the Soul Rock right away, because it is going to set up Shadow Sky, which makes it so I can't heal, even if I use Protect, which I will be doing here, just to get a little bit of health back before the Starmie comes out, which is kind of the biggest threat in this battle, because every time I tried to fight it before, it just outsped me, took me down basically from half in a single hit. Anyway, Body Slam is enough to defeat Castform, and out comes the Starmie. His Shadow Pokemon. This thing will use Shadow Storm to try to take me down. And luckily no paralysis this turn either. I go for Protect just to get a little bit more health back before I try to take it on. I go for Body Slam. And take it down in a single hit. Okay, well, I guess Quagsire really was the most difficult thing in this fight, even though I am sitting quite low. Anyway, Bubble Beam should take down the Matang in a single hit, and that's Snaddle on the 7th attempt, which definitely took a lot of time out of this. Anyway, moving right along, now that I actually have the shortcut, I can take him on all day. So I go for Ice Beam, I take down the Swellow right away, but one thing I failed to note is that Alakazam has a little move called Thunder Punch, which is doing, you know, a little bit of damage. So I go for Protect this turn to try and heal up a little bit, and Dragon Breath? Okay, I've never seen the Kingdra use Dragon Breath before, and Dragon Breath is really scary here, because I believe it has a 30% chance to paralyze every time you use it. Oh, and that wasn't a one-shot. Oh, no. Okay, paralysis is good. Now, I do need to take down the Alakazam, though, because it is doing a ton of damage. And if the Kingdra can just be paralyzed on the turn that I take it down, I should be able to take it down without an issue. So maybe it won't be too bad. Okay, Heracross is a little bad. Dragon Breath comes out, please no paralysis. Okay, well that's a little unfortunate. Now Heracross is a big threat because of, yeah, Mega Horn is super effective because I'm a Dark type. Okay, well let's just go right back into it. I believe this is the 3rd attempt now. I go for Body Slam, get a crit, which wasn't actually necessary at all. Out comes Kingdra. Swellow uses Shadow Sky, which is going to be doing chip damage to every non-Shadow Pokemon on the field. I go for Protect just to stall a turn of the Shadow Sky, and also because I learned in the 2nd attempt that Swellow, for whatever reason, really likes using Shadow Half against me. Now Shadow Half is a move that does half of every Pokemon on the field's health in damage, so it's actually quite useful. The problem is that a lot of times it's hard to predict when it's going to come out. But surprisingly, Swellow's kind of obvious with it, especially against Crawdaunt for some reason. Like, it just loves using Shadow Half. I don't know what it is. And every time it uses it, the next turn it can't attack or anything. So I can actually take down the Pokemon that it Shadow Halved without any real issue. Now, unfortunately, in the 2nd attempt, I also learned that Swellow stops using it after a couple times, so it's not worth keeping it alive anymore. Out comes Electabuzz. This thing is pretty scary because if I hit it with a physical move, it has the static ability, meaning that I can get paralysis by it. And Electabuzz, use Shadow Half. Huh. I don't know why they're spamming Shadow Half. Okay, well anyway, that makes my job a little easier. I go for Body Slam to take down the Swellow. Electabuzz can't move this turn. Out comes Snorlax, which is usually the biggest threat, but I think... well, I guess in this case it would be the biggest threat because everything else basically just took itself down, but... yeah. Anyway, I should be able to take down the Electabuzz this turn without having to risk paralysis just by using... never mind, I just risk paralysis. Okay, well maybe not my wisest choice, but oh well. It didn't hurt. Now, Snorlax has Shadow End, a move that does half of his health if it hits, but it also does a ton of damage. And I think that might have just put it in range for a Body Slam. Huh. Okay, well that was kind of fun. Now Gorgon once again. I will say, this is basically the same story as the first one. This is now the second attempt where I actually win. The first one wasn't all that interesting. I will say it's not an unluckiness thing, it's just a slight strategy change. But honestly, it's not all that interesting, so I didn't bother showing it. It was just take down one Pokemon instead of another. Anyway, so I go for Protect here, get up the health, and on top of that, avoid the Earthquake Walreign's putting out. Now, Walrein isn't a one-shot, but the Aggron is. But despite that, I'm going to try to take down the Walrein first, because if it Ice Beams and freezes me, it's basically over. Out comes Double Edge. Not really doing too much to me. And since the Aggron is just going to be using Protect this turn, I decide to take down the Walrein fully, bringing out his first Shadow Pokemon, which is a Shadow Poliwrath. Now this thing, as I've learned, is a fighting type. I know, wild. Body Slam isn't enough to take it down, unfortunately. Shadow Sky comes out, and the Fruity Pebbles are going to rain on us, doing chip damage, unfortunately. But it's not really that big a deal, because I think this battle is more or less over. I go for another Body Slam to take down the Poliwrath, and out comes his second Shadow Pokemon, which is a Mr. Mime. Now, Mr. Mime is actually kinda scary, because its special attack stat is actually pretty good. So, if it hits me with a Shadow Storm, it might actually do quite a bit of damage. So I'm hoping a single Body Slam should be able to take it out. Which it does, okay. And now it's just Aggron left, which I know I can one-shot from the first attempt that I did. So just one Bubble Beam should seal the deal, and that'll be the battle. And there it goes. Okay, well, Gorgon second try. Not bad at all. So now we move on to Eldis. He leads with a Ninjask and a Manectric. Now this is the second attempt. I decided that the first attempt was too boring, so I just decided to move on to the second one. And as you can see, I used Body Slam there to take down the Manectric. Now that is a little risky because it does have the static ability, but in the first attempt Bubble Beam wasn't enough to take it down, so it's worth the risk because I can easily get back to this fight again if I lose. Anyway, his first Shadow Pokemon is a Salamence. Now luckily it is 4 times weak to Ice, so I should be able to take it down in a single hit, which I do. And then out comes his next Pokemon, which is a Flygon, also 4 times weak to Ice. But I am going to protect this turn, that way the Ninjask can run out of Silver Winds. It's only got 5, but I definitely don't want to risk it getting an Omni Boost and doing even more damage with the Silver Winds or Aerial Aces whenever it runs out. If I can limit how many it gets out, I can lower its chances. Anyway, Ice Beam takes down the Flygon in a single hit. Out comes Marowak. This thing is always kind of dangerous because if I'm not able to take it down in a single hit, it will be doing a ton of damage because it's holding the Thick Club item. But luckily, I'm able to take it down. Now on this turn, the Ninjask is going to be attacking because it just protected the previous turn. But I have to attack because the Lapras is going to be setting up Shadow Sky, and if I can take down the Lapras with a crit, okay, well that's kind of nice. That made it a little faster. Yeah, because in the previous attempt, it was a 3-shot on the Lapras. I must have just gotten a low roll, and this time I got a high roll crit, so it just took it down in a single hit. Okay, well that sped up this fight quite a bit. Anyway, on to the Shadow Lugia fight, which is always really hard and definitely a struggle every time. Anyway, it's just going to use Shadow Storm like a lot of the other Pokemon. Body Slam, another crit. Okay, well that's kind of nice. Not enough to take it down, but okay, well that's quite a bit of damage. Okay, I go for Protect here just to get about a little bit of health back. And another Body Slam is able to take it down. And there goes the Big Box Legendary. Now, on to the final fight. Now, his entire team are Shadow Pokemon, so every single move is going to be doing super effective damage no matter what. And as you can see, I'm not quite at full health because of that Shadow Lugia fight. So I'm going to protect the first turn just to get a little bit more health back. I go for Bubble Beam to see how much it's going to do. And it takes down the Moltres in a single hit. Okay, well that's a good sign. Out comes Executor, which, just like the Rhydon, is only ever going to use Shadow End. And every time he uses it, it loses half health. So I decide to protect this turn. And Shadow Storm? Executor has Shadow Storm? Oh, okay, well, anyway, I guess I'll take it down because it's definitely scarier than the Rhydon. Okay, well, out comes Tauros. Now, unfortunately, Tauros does have Intimidate, so now my Body Slams aren't going to be doing as much damage. But it might still be enough to take it down in a single hit. Okay, well, not even close. It takes it to about half, though. That's fine. A lucky miss. It is only a 50-50 to hit. Fruity Pebbles come down. I go for another Body Slam. I take down the Tauros. And here's where the biggest threat of this battle is. It's the only thing I can't hit for super effective damage, and at this point, the Tauros has lowered my Body Slam attack damage down, so now to see how much I do to Articuno. I decide to go for Bubble Beam here because I think it will do the most amount of damage. And it's not even a 2-shot. Okay, well, a decent first attempt. Or so I thought. Because here we are at attempt number 5, and I have a new strategy. Yes, it is a great strategy, and it is definitely not luck-based in the slightest. So I do as I do before, I take down the Moltres. In this case, because Rhydon missed, I take it down as well. And since that first battle, I haven't seen Executor go for Shadow Storm even a single time, so I don't know why it went for it that first attempt, but it hasn't done it again, so maybe there's certain parameters to it actually using it? I don't know. Anyway, as long as it's up to 50-50s, I am in a better boat. So I take down the Executor, because honestly, the Tauros has to set up 2 moves before it'll even start attacking me. So the Executor doing 50-50s is going to take more turns than I need. And that's because of my brilliant plan. Yes, I concocted this while in the lab. And it is called Guillotine, a one-hit KO move with 30% accuracy. Now, the original plan for this was to use the 2 turns that Tauros uses Shadow Sky and Shadow Hold to call the Crawdaunt and raise its accuracy. But also, I can get to this fight fairly quickly, and it only took an extra 2 attempts for me to get this attempt here, where I'm actually able to take it down on the first try and win the battle. So after some Fruity Pebbles, I go for Ice Beam, which it takes down the Zapdos in a single hit, and at this point I already know that Tauros is a 2-shot, and since I can't get crit, and since it's also going to use Shadow Sky this turn, it's not going to be doing that much damage to me. And as you can see, I also got rid of Body Slam altogether. So against Body Slam really isn't all that useful during this fight at all, because Tauros took way more damage from the Bubble Beam anyway. And just like that, I've beaten the game with the Corphish line. And honestly, that was pretty good. Like, it's definitely not the best Pokemon ever, but it's definitely not bad. Like, it finished the game at 12 hours, 18 minutes, and 8 seconds, which solidly puts it into the B tier, I think. It finished at level 79, which is pretty good, and it only fainted 31 times. So I think this is a pretty cut-dry case, because there's a very similar Pokemon to this, and that's the Pikachu line, which was a similar time, only a couple levels higher, and fainted basically the same amount of times. So I think they're more or less the same. I think I'll give the Pikachu line just an ever so slight edge over it, and that's basically just because it had to deal with Pichu. Whereas Corphish is actually a pretty decent Pokemon. It was actually able to do stuff. So I think I'll give the Pikachu line just a slight edge over it. But I think it's solidly a B tier Pokemon. It definitely fits that row very well. And honestly, it's pretty good throughout the game. There are a few things holding it back though. Specifically, the typing and its stats, because the stats do not reflect its typing. It has 90 special attack, which is decent, but it's definitely a physical attacker. But neither of its stab types are physical in this game, so it definitely held it back. On top of that, the fact that it's kind of slow meant that anything that could do any type of speed control, such as those Quagsires, it only took 1 or 2 Rock Tombs or moves like that to actually just slow it down to a point where it couldn't even fight back. And that's with Pokemon that were sometimes half its level. But with that being said, thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to comment any Pokemon, please do, subscribe, and maybe like the video. Bye.